Good afternoon and welcome to 3 o'clock with SOC. Give me a second while I welcome our Spanish-speaking neighbors. Buenas tardes y gracias por estar con nosotros hoy a las 3 p.m. en SOC. Si quieren acceso al programa en español, por favor marquen el número que aparece en la pantalla, 425-436-6200. Cuando le contestan la llamada, por favor compartan el clave o el contraseña que empieza con 627-682. Thank you. I am Tammy Rivera, the Executive Director and Lead Organizer for Southside Organizing Center, SOC or SOC. We're so glad you're with us this afternoon. We have a great program for you, especially if you're an entrepreneur or you own a business. We'll be digging into that in just a second. I want to let you know that we have been with you in these difficult times from the beginning, and we continue to be. You can reach us in all the same ways you have, except for in person, and we are looking forward to when we can do that again. You can call us at 672-8090, our same number. You can email us at soc@socmilwaukee.org, and you can visit our webpage. And we have an entire page dedicated to information, resources, and action you can take in response to COVID-19 or the coronavirus. I'd like to share with you what's going to be taking place on the forum the rest of this week and even into next week. And you're not going to want to miss any of these days. Today, and I'll introduce our guests in a little bit, we have Nelson Soler. He holds several leadership hats in our community, but today we're going to be talking about business. And then tomorrow we have Commissioner Kowalik, our health commissioner, back with us, giving us an update. On Friday, we have Jean Gerasi. We're in a strategic partnership with the Benedict Center. She's the executive director there. And we're working together on continuing the work around our diversion program for women involved in street prostitution. And then next week, we have a powerful week for you again. We have, we're settling the days, but we have the newly elected president of the Common Council with us on Wednesday. That's Alderman Chevy Johnson. And then Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, Dr. Keith Posley, the MPS superintendent. We have Emilio de Torre, the director of engagement for the ACLU. And we have Miranda Medina Lopez, a health educator with the Wisconsin Women's Health Foundation. I'm fighting a sneeze here. Excuse me. And so you don't want to miss the program. We have the latest information direct from the mouths of trusted leaders and original sources. And so I want to remind you, we do a daily drawing for a $25 gift certificate. And this is a great thing. It's a win for all kinds of players here. You win if you win a $25 gift card, and these are hard times. And so it's a help to you. That's a win. It's a help to the small businesses, our local businesses that support SOC in these times. And then it's a win for SOC because our forums give us feedback for the work that we do, because we're here to serve your dreams and your needs and your concerns. And it's a way for us to share what the work we're doing with our funders, which is oftentimes a requirement. So it's a win for everyone. Please do it. I'm really appreciative of you all who have been increasing your participation, and those numbers of survey completions are going up and up. And so really appreciate you for doing that. Want to share a disclaimer before we start our program. It's really important for us. It's part of our work to ensure that we create voice, the safe spaces for people to share. And because of the type of the organization that we are, and because just sometimes we don't have the same policy perspective on things, we can't always sign off on everything that is shared here, but we like to create the space and ability for you all to engage with information and with folks. And so the views and opinions shared today, they don't necessarily reflect those of SOC. With that, I'd like to invite a very special guest today, a personal friend, an admired colleague, and strategic partner in the community, Nelson Soler.
Hola, Tami, ¿cómo estás?
Bien. Nelson, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm going to do a little intro and then we're going to dig in. And so
Right.
I want to share that, as I said earlier, Nelson serves in several leadership capacities in the community. We're very grateful for that. And our work intersects in all of those areas. He is the founder of the Latino Entrepreneurial Network. He is the founder of the Latino Chamber of Commerce, and he's the founder and owner of Multicultural Entrepreneurial Institute, his own business. But he also is a commissioner on the Fire and Police Commission, and that's a whole nother layer of work that we work on together. We have known each other for a long time. We have worked together alongside. I think our first project together was overhauling a component or two for the Hispanic professionals of Greater Milwaukee back in the beginning of days.
When I was
And so our most recent project is we partnered with Nelson and his organizations to do the very first, the inaugural Latino Summit, which was directed at entrepreneurs and businesses. And it was such an incredible flip of the script, allowing for a summit to take place, responding to the needs of the business people in attendance versus a presentation of what subject matter experts. So very grateful for your innovation, your boldness, and glad that you're with us, Nelson. We have about 20 minutes, 25 minutes to discuss the topic for today because we have so many things we could talk about. I'm tempted to talk about the Fire and Police Commission activity right now, but we got to stay focused. Nelson, it's been such a challenging time for individuals and families, but we can't forget how difficult this has been to our business community, of which is highly, highly dependent on our Latino and other minority businesses. Give us your sense of how COVID-19 has impacted our business community, and then what things are happening now that are helping or hurting that sector of our community.
Well, it has been a very interesting time for many businesses because although many of them were adversely affected, some of them are actually growing. So we had that happening in the economy. I'll give examples of that. I think one of the issues we need to understand is that we as a group of business owners are overrepresented in the restaurant and hospitality industry. So that was a direct hit on the gut. We're overrepresenting the home remodeling industry, hit on the gut. And we're also overrepresenting personal services such as barber shops, spas, and the like. So those three segments were struggling in many ways. We got over 130 calls in a span of 8 days of people really desperate, looking for options to increase revenue or figuring out a different system. And they're still struggling with that. And many of the resources in our community, and you know that, were deployed primarily through webinars. And that's not culturally relevant for some business owners that do not have the access to the technology. And right now with social media and the integration, like the platform you're using or the one that I use, is very helpful because most of the business owners can quickly access on their phone social media. But that was not the venue where government was talking, releasing information. So it was really hard. So they were looking at us as, if you will, the translator, what this means for me. Conversely, we saw a spike on cleaning companies for the obvious reasons. So the cleaning companies that I work with are growing steadfast. They're going into the sanitizing business, which is totally different from cleaning. and they're facing growth, and they also need capital. So we have businesses struggling because they don't have access to any funding, and now we have businesses that are growing too fast that they don't have funding to support them. So that's the challenges we're seeing from both sides on those business sides. The other thing that you need to consider, the other layer you need to add, is that we in personal services, small business, that are in construction, in the restaurant business, we tend to hire our own. Okay, and so Latinos were overrepresented in these businesses. Now many of them were out of a job, on top of the business suffering, their employees were suffering. So I think that the Latino community was adversely affected in comparison to any other group. And we cannot ignore our friends and family that are undocumented, that had no access to unemployment, because that's what everybody kept telling me. Oh, tell them to go and apply for unemployment. Yes, you can, but 26%, 30% of the people I'm working with cannot. So finding resources for them has been a struggle through this venue. That's why the chamber stepped out a little bit and created a program that will provide or provides access to people regardless how they're in the country.
Yeah, it's a heavy load. I'm so appreciative you're in the community. I also want to distinguish for our viewers that the Latino Chamber of Commerce is a different organization than the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And today we're talking with and we partner with the Latino Chamber of Commerce, just to make that clear for our viewers. Nelson, what do you think has been working in terms of what our government has offered and what has been problematic so we get a better understanding of
Well, I will have more problematic than what has been working. So let's start there. So many of these programs are designed by government with good intent, but they don't understand impact. So they had good intentions in creating, for instance, a payroll protection program. Good intended, well intended, easy money, allegedly a very simple application you can fill out. But then to fill out the application, you need documentation, you need access to a scanner, you need access to documents that an accountant might have for you. So you're increasing the cost of the business owner who's trying to survive in this uh, realm. So the programs were well intended, but they haven't reached all the people that can reach them. And we have seen that still now banks are proactively looking for applications because people were so traumatized during the initial application period, they don't even want to apply. It was a very cumbersome process. So something that was simple, a two-page application, many organizations chose to make it a very complex process, revolving around technology and information. So that didn't work as well as intended. The governor just released our state finally woke up to the small businesses and released a grant this week specifically for minority-owned businesses. And they also announced a program called We're All In that will be for all small businesses as well. So that program has 75 million. The minority program has only $2 million. So we need to talk about that another time. But that's a disparity because when you look at minority-owned businesses, we did not in bulk access the federal programs that were available. We couldn't. We didn't have the resources. We didn't have the technology to be able to complete them. And there are numbers at the national level saying that only about 30% of minorities access the program. Okay, so that's problematic. So the good thing about this governor program is that he partnered with the chambers. So we're a partner, and we can actually assess individuals in their language. We can help them with the application process. The challenge with the process, if people need to understand, is $2,000 for your business. You don't need to pay it back as long as you use it for operating capital. So it's not to take your vacations to the Dells. It's not to go and buy a new piece of equipment, but you use it to pay your employees, to pay yourself as the owner, because owners, self-employees are allowed to do that, to buy inventory. That's all allowable. Now, obviously, it's a kind of a lottery system. So you apply, you put your name into a hat, and a computer at random will pick 1,000 people. So that's a challenge. There's no guarantee you will get into a process, but I rather have my name on the hat than not have it. So it's a random process. There have been other organizations that have been very active, like us. We get a loan fund active right now to help with payroll and rent for micro enterprises that have 9 employees or less. So it's very targeted. We're focusing in restaurants, exactly the industries I mentioned before. Personal services first because they've been closed, and then second, restaurants, and third, contractors. And that program will provide not only with the access to the funding, but with assistance for people to start gradually opening their business in the new economy. Because we know that the economy that is coming and the trauma that people had gone through is going to affect the way we do business. People are not just going to rush to restaurants to buy food. People are not going to rush and do home repairs when they're unemployed. People are not going to rush, and perhaps the hair. I see a lot of people complain about their hair. I cut the hair myself because I couldn't get into uh, my
Good job, Nelson. Good job.
trusted professional. But in bulk, we're not going to have the same demand for our services, and I'm really saddened to say, but some businesses are not going to make it. Some businesses are not going to make it because the access to this immediate capital we need, we're not going to be able. For me, in my business, we basically our sales were 40% of what they were this year at the same time. So we lost
Mm,
60% of our income, and we're in the professional services industry. So imagine a restaurant, or imagine these personal service providers that cannot open or receive the public. So it's even more probably chronic than what we're seeing here. So I'm concerned about a lot of those businesses. And we heard today from the mayor that he wants to continue with extending the save at home order for the city. And this is a city that most of the micro enterprises are minority owned. So it will be really concerning to see what happened with that if he doesn't pair that up with capital, with access to
yeah.
capital. Mhm.
Nelson, in the monies that were released, did in the original monies, did they include business assistance funds, like for you all to help people who are not on the regular grid of press releases and government e-notifies? Was that money accompanied by any assistance money?
Not We got our funding from a private source, from a private foundation, the Great Milwaukee Foundation. That's public. We announced it, and we propose to have a pair with capacity building and with services. And that's another issue because it's not good just to throw money at a person. You don't give them the assistance. There's some programs that now that Layton Boulevard West Neighbors has released that there are grants between 2006. Clark Square has some targeted programs that will pay rent, $1,200, $1,500. Now they have a second round, and list through the Bruce City matching, which are targeted neighborhoods. We have Cesar Chavez included in that. Also has some funds that are available for businesses, and they're very, very targeted, and they do come with some technical assistance. But most of the programs, like the PPP, all these loans that the government release, are not coming with any TA or technical assistance. So a business owner now will be faced to fill out an 11-page application to get their loan forgiven. And people thought it's free money, it's a grant, they're going to forgive me, it's just going to be a check, I'm going to use it and whatever. But now that they had time to think about the processes as government, they came out with this long application and a lot of requirements that now you need to put back into the system with little assistance to get your forgiveness.
Yeah, that was my concern because people of privilege don't understand, even if they're good-hearted, that other folks have not had the same social capital, whether that's financial or government systems or literacy or the materials available in their language or understand the business sector in its entirety. They're mostly subject matter experts in what they do. And so I was very concerned that it didn't come with the type of technical assistance and coaching and advice you need to utilize the resources. And then I think I heard you mention that the second round has come with some support for chambers to come alongside the businesses. So this second round will have more of that then,
Yeah, we
or have it because it didn't have it
I
originally.
have it. I right now, if somebody needs technical assistance, all they need to do is call the chamber. We have funding to help you navigate. For instance, if you want to know how to make your business safe, you want to have a business continuation plan, you're struggling with inspectors or anything like that, we have the funding to assist you. if you're struggling, and many people will struggle with the paperwork or the compliance piece of the loans and the grants that they got or they received, we're becoming experts internally to assist with that. And that's our program called Más Fuertes. And Más
Mhm.
Fuertes came in with an emergency hotline that people can access. I can put it in the chat so the controller can post it. And that line is operating every day from noon till 7 p.m. We can also be reached via email. Um, and the same services. I mean, it will obviously you reach me through email. It will be a turnaround time, and you can also communicate through us via social media. We're getting more requests sometimes that we can handle, and we're getting calls from all over the state. So we're not limiting ourselves here. We have gotten calls all the way from Fond du Lac down to Beloit, and we will continue to assist and route people properly as long as we have the capacity to do it. And the we're our hope in the way we wrote the program, it goes all the way through April next year. So we should be
Okay.
able to do that. And we're also going to have some education attached to it. I started last night with a mini seminar that is going to be synchronous and asynchronous. So then, for instance, if I do a seminar on how to fill out your forgiveness for a particular product, that will be available on demand. And let's say that another group want to rebroadcast it or want to meet with 2 or 3 people into a room and go through it, they can do that as well.
That's great to hear. It's so needed. This is why it's so important to involve grassroots, organized community providers, because you just don't know what you don't know and what you haven't lived. And so glad that you're doing that. Do you have a sense, Nelson, of what percent of Milwaukee's business is small business? Do you got a sense of that?
Not no, I cannot do any statistics. I can do more
Mhm.
of experience based
Yeah,
information. I will dare to estimate. I have facilitated the creation of 4,000 enterprises, not all in Milwaukee. I will say about 60% of that are in Milwaukee. Plus, if you add the other groups, we're talking about 5 to 6,000 small businesses in this area.
yeah, huge part. And I know in the past I've heard that we have not done enough investment in our Latino small business community. And also, we've been talking about we have an enormous small business industry that's not um, formalized. People who do sewing and cooking and cleaning, etc. And so that's all the unknown numbers. So when we think of the wave of how dramatic business has been impacted, and we look at the numbers, it's huge. To imagine the ones that are off, right, off the grid, um, it's massive. It's massive. That's why it's so important that we have folks like you. And also, I want to make it clear because I know, because of my own personal use of MEI, Multicultural Entrepreneurial Institute, how important it is to have people who are genuine in the community, but also well versed like yourself. They give us some sense of when people are reaching for assistance of this type, what are some of the things they should think about when they decide who to work with? So we have folks in the community. There are some options in the community for where to go for small business help. How about a couple of tips to help people decide where they're going to get their support from?
The first thing is that you should seek advice from people who have run businesses. I think there is a lot of professionals that profess themselves to be consultants or to be accountants or to be all these type of things within organizations. Not to put the nonprofit sector down because I love you all. I'm also it's a large base on my client, but there are a lot of people in the nonprofit world that have never run a business, don't understand the technicality of sitting down and filling out a license paperwork, don't understand how to deal with the police directly, don't understand how to deal with negotiating debt with the state. I mean, they had the technical acumen or the academic, if you will, acumen
Mhm.
of understanding. Well, you need to talk to your accountant is the first thing that come out of their mouth. not realizing that many of our business owners don't know what an accountant is or what is a good accountant. So I will suggest you always ask people, do you have experience in what I do? Okay. And it's for everything. I mean, you go to a doctor, you're not going to go to the first doctor that you see. You have a diabetes, right? You go to internal medicine. The same thing happens with business. People go to la muchacha, la comadre, la que trabaja en el basement. Si somebody is working in a basement underground doing business consulting, you should run the other way, because if they're legit and they're unafraid of sharing their knowledge, they should have an office. Number one. Second, once you get to talk to people, interview them, ask them for references. Who else have you helped that has a restaurant? Who else have you helped with a construction company? And they will tell you. And many people just are very departmentalized. So, like, you go to somebody that professes to be an accounting professional, they only know the accounting piece, but they don't understand the licenses. Or you go to somebody that helps you with the licenses, they don't understand taxation. So one of the things that we offer in our institute is that we have 5 professionals and we have all the specialty here. With the exception, I don't have an attorney. I'm a real estate broker, but we can orient you in a wholesome way, in a strategic way, that you'll feel serviced, and you don't have to go to jumping from professional to professional, for a nonprofit to nonprofit. And there are very few services that can do that. If you opt, for instance, the biggest area that we see a lot of liability at this time is that people didn't have their taxes right. People didn't have their taxes completed. They didn't know what their business licenses were, because they're working with la muchacha y la comadre, or el muchacho y el compadre. And it's not gender based. And
Mhm.
all these grants, all these assistance program require your taxes for the last year. You bring your taxes with a negative $55,000. Then your business was in the tank before COVID, so you don't qualify for assistance, because we're helping people that their business was doing okay, and then COVID took them down. And that's the base for all the programs. So you have been steadily reporting your business at negative 56 for the last 10 years because you went to La Comadre. Then you don't have a viable business. You don't have a viable business, you don't need assistance, because I'm not going to throw $10,000 to a business that is going to fail again. I'm going to throw $10,000 to a business that is growing or really decrease sales. So understanding taxation, understanding what licenses are, having people properly documented for work, regardless of how they're in the country, there are ways to do it. Most of the programs require your payroll report. So you're asking for a payroll loan and you have no payroll because you pay people cash. And that was the advice La Comadre Tax gave you, because that way you pay less taxes. And your companies already have $1 million in sales, and then you have no employees. So there are things that don't make sense. So that puts you in a situation that then you don't qualify for assistance, even though you really truly need it and you're employing people
Yeah.
in the community.
That's a good point, that you have to understand business as a whole and not be short-sighted. And so sometimes people are giving solutions to give you a benefit now, but it doesn't help you in the long run for business. That's why it's important people seek out professionals and institutions like yours that know what they're doing. Let me say hello to a couple of people and see if we have any questions. Iluminada Romero. Bien guapo te ves. Que Dios te bendiga.
That's my mom.
Yeah, your mommy. Hola, Marianne. Hola, Elsa. Do you have any questions for Nelson now that we have him? This is a really important resource. Saludos, Uriel, Trini, um, Zapata is on the line. Hello to you all. So glad you're with us. If you have any questions before we end this segment, please share them now. Let's share Nelson's contact information. Again, Nelson, share your phone number and your email,
Mhm.
and then we'll put it on the screen. Share it verbally, and then we'll put it on the screen.
Oh, my email is solar at latinochambersew.org. The phone number for the chamber for the hotline is 414 888-2270. And then I saw a question on the screen. Is there any technical assistance regarding the governor's grant? Yes, yes, yes. That's what we're doing. You need assistance, you need to call us because the grant closes on Saturday. So if you have questions, please do call that number that was posted, and we'll be happy to guide you through the process.
Awesome. Is there any last advice you want to share with business owners now, Nelson, before we close out the segment? What are a couple of um, pieces of info you want them to take action on?
First thing is that this is not going to be the first time we'll face something like this. We're all entrepreneurs, we're risk takers. We decided to embrace this lifestyle. Do not give up. Do not give up. Keep going, keep moving
Mhm.
forward, keep looking for resources. Conversely, or on the same hand that you're looking for resources, understand what resources are good, a good fit for you. Don't get into the wrong resource. I saw that last night that people didn't understand what this federal program was, and some people were asking me, how do I give them money back? Because now that they understand what it entails, they realize that they should not have applied for it. So make sure you go and get the advice first before just jumping for the first little shiny coin you see in front of you. But do not give up. If you're an entrepreneur, you need to keep going and look for resources like us. We're not the only one. I'm not self promoting myself, but we're well rounded in what we do. We'll give you honest advice. If we don't see possibilities, we'll tell you upfront. But if we see possibilities, we'll help you move forward.
Thank you, Nelson. We look forward to a continued strategic our partnership. I'm gonna say hello to a couple of folks, and then we'll let you get to all the work that you have before you. Hola, Gabi. Great job. Thank you for your dedication. She says. Giovanna Salazar. Thank you, Nelson, for the information. Um, Uriel was the person who asked the question. Thank you, Nelson. We look forward to having you back with us and our continued partnership. Be safe.
Thank you.
So grateful for all the leadership who is sharing with us here at SOC, and we haven't addressed the business community. So I'm glad we were able to do that today. I'm going to share a quick um, notice in our COVID section today, our coronavirus section. In case you didn't hear, Governor Evers announce a new relief for farmers and for food security, $50 million for agriculture, $15 million for food security. We'll put that on our website for you all to see, but the gist of it is relief for farmers and relief for our folks who need food access through food pantries and meal programs and in other ways, and tying those two together, which I think is so smart, using that farmers' produce to help with the food needs in the community. And so that is help coming down the way. What does that mean? Stay connected to our webpage and the food pantry and meal program and fresh food access links that we have, because there should be more resources being infused to those types of aid. We're going to move now into our civic engagement piece, and we have Gabe Charles, our civic engagement manager, with updates on that and the census.
Hey everyone. So we've talked a lot on our forum about the why of the election, how it affected voters, what challenges people faced, and especially what challenges people faced regarding absentee voting. We know that a lot of people, especially in Milwaukee, did not receive their absentee ballots, and we've been waiting for a report or an explanation from either the Milwaukee Election Commission or from the US Postal Service about why this occurred. And actually, on May 15th, the Election Commission came out with a report that overviews some of the explanations as to what happened. So we know that in some cities like Appleton and Oshkosh, there were about 1,600 ballots found at a mail processing center the day after the election. And the report says that the US Postal Service has not really given any explanation or answers as to why this occurred. But for Milwaukee specifically, there were 2,693 voters who were not sent their absentee ballots. And this is this has been attributed to technical issues between March 22nd and March 23rd. So basically what happened is that the state system that different cities and counties use to process absentee ballots was being overwhelmed. It was running slow, and based on advice from their IT technical support, they decided to restart or reboot this statewide system, not knowing what Milwaukee was in the middle of. And so when this happens, typically things get backlogged and they still get produced okay, even if something is restarted. But in this case, that didn't happen. So the batch that was being processed at the time of reboot were simply just not processed, even though they appeared to be processed. And the report says that this could only have been found after the fact and after a more thorough investigation happened, but nonetheless, it happened. And so moving forward, they are going to be addressing how this happened and ways to avoid it. And there's actually going to be a meeting of the Wisconsin Election Commission this afternoon at 4 p.m. to discuss the report and how they intend to avoid these issues moving forward for the November election. And the report also goes over how this April 7th election broke absentee voting records in Wisconsin in many different ways. So this was the election with the most absentee ballots ever cast in any Wisconsin election, the second most total ballots ever cast in a Wisconsin spring election, and the most in-person absentee ballots in a Wisconsin spring election. So I just want to share with you some graphs that would give you a visualization of these different records that got broken in this election. So this shows the total ballots cast by mail or absentee ballots cast per election. So you can see the one farthest on the right for the April 7th election, over 900,000 absentee ballots were cast, and it was more than any other election, any other spring election or any other election in the past. Then we have the total ballots cast as a whole, so not just specific to absentee ballots, but all ballots cast. And you can see that this was still pretty high up there. And the record that was set, it was the second most ballots cast in a spring election. So you can see it's just behind the spring election of 2016. Then we have a pie chart here that shows the divide between votes that were cast absentee and votes that were cast in person on election day. So 74%, that gray color, shows ballots that were cast by absentee, and then the black 26% shows ballots that were cast in person on election day. And then we have this table that shows of the total absentee ballots sent, the ones that were returned, whether they were returned and counted, returned and rejected, or just simply not returned. And so between absentee ballots being returned and rejected and absentee ballots not returned, that made up over 10% of the absentee ballots sent. And the majority of that were ballots that were simply not returned. So I think that just goes to show that we need to be talking to our friends and family about making sure that they get their absentee ballots in after they receive them. So requesting it is not the last step. You got to make sure we're encouraging folks and supporting folks, whether it's signing them as witnesses or letting them know where the drop boxes will be. And we will know more about that in the coming months, because there's still so much to be determined for the November election. So I also just want to take this opportunity to show you the My Vote Wisconsin website, where you can register to vote and request your absentee ballot online, just myvote.wisconsin.gov. You can change it to Spanish by going down to the bottom here, not all the way to the bottom, but pretty close. And it says Español here, so you can change it to Spanish. But this is where you can, like I said, register to vote, or vote absentee, learn where you vote, and even get a sample ballot to see what's on your ballot. So let's hit register to vote to see what that looks like. You'll just put in your first name, last name, and your date of birth, and it will guide you through just a series of questions. It takes just a few minutes, and it's easiest if you do it on your phone, because then you can just snap a picture right away of the identification, passport, license, whatever you have, because that is required when you register to vote. So just keep that in mind, unless you have on your computer already a file of an image of your identification, but it's pretty easy by phone. And same with the vote absentee option. So it'll ask you to put in your first name, last name, and date of birth to confirm your voter registration, and then guide you through the process of requesting the absentee ballot. Again, super short process. I did it in like 5 minutes for the spring election. And you also might have to upload an image of your identification, so just keep that in mind if it makes sense for you to do it by phone or by computer. And so that's that, and I hope that was helpful. I will now give it back to Tammy.
You know that park you wish you had and those potholes you want fixed in your street? It takes money to build and fix these, and Washington, D.C. decides who gets it through census numbers. So starting in March, participate in the census. You can do it online, phone it in, or over the mail. And nobody else will have access to your information. Everyone should take the census, even if you're undocumented. For more information, go to WeCountCensus.com.
Thank you, Gabe. As always, you're bringing civic engagement, election, and census work to very practical ways of understanding and participating. We really appreciate you for that. We're going to do our SOC feature program and bringing on with us Clarissa Morales, one of our organizers, so that we can give you an update on what's happening in the housing arena. So if you can bring her on. Hola, Clary.
Hello, how are you?
Good. So this morning you had a meeting with the housing group that's been meeting since COVID to address issues for renters and landlords and housing in general. Go ahead and give us an update in general about who's involved in that committee, what type of things you talk about, and then if you'd give us an update on the latest announcement for the expansion of rental assistance.
Sure. Today, as you had said, since the beginning of COVID and doing this networking via internet, we meet once a week, and by we, this housing cohort is with a representative from Community Advocates, Rolanda Spencer, also Stephanie Samaripa with DNS, myself, some U.S. Bank employees that are working with some homeowners that are having issues with COVID as well, and being able to make the payment and how that's going to work out for them. So we meet and we discuss what options are out there for our residents and what can we do to continue to show that these services are needed. With that being said, this afternoon, well, early this morning, we received a news release, a press release from Governor Evers saying that he has allocated $25 million for rental assistance for persons that have been affected by COVID to be able to stay in their homes for up to $3,000. There are the services that Community Advocates has, while we were on today, I had asked to see how many people have been affected and that have called in for this rent assistance. And she said for the month of May, and it's not over yet, there are close to 400 people have already called and have gotten services to help get them through till when things start opening back up. So
that's a big number. I'm glad to hear that people are getting resources, but it really speaks to how many people have lost jobs or lost income some way or another. let's give folks an understanding. They can call you, right, Claudia, and
They
ask
can.
for how to get connected, and we can make sure that we have one of the organizers who represents your area. We have 3 organizers. Clarissa is responsible for the southern border of our district. We have Maria Perea, who does like First Street to 16th Street from the Valley to Beecher. And then we have Travis, who does like 16th Street to Miller Parkway from the Valley to Beecher. And then Gladys does First Street through Miller Parkway, Beecher, all the way to Oklahoma. And that's not to say if you live outside of our area that you can't call us. We absolutely are here for folks. That's just our service area. We'll make sure we can help you or guide you to someone else. So people can call Gladys. She'll get you connected. And then our organizer can walk you through the process, even with community advocates, so you don't feel overwhelmed or intimidated. Any other news that came out of that meeting outside, or was the focus Governor Evers' announcement?
No, we've also we did discuss Governor Evers' announcement, but prior to his announcement, because that came almost around the same time we were getting ready to meet. So when I read the announcement, but we still are having a lot of, I want our residents to know that NIDC, which handles the TIN, the strong homes, and also the code compliant and NIP, all these programs, they are still working. If you're having issues with your roof leaking with the 3 days of rain we just got, call SOC. We can help you get connected with the services that may be available for you.
Share our number and our email again, Gladys. Share our phone number and our email.
Sure. Our phone number is 414-672-8090. And we can also be reached by email at soc@socmilwaukee.org. So give us a call or shoot us an email, and we can, get you connected to what you need. I know that we have gotten some calls about roof leaks. That's kind of really important to get done, especially with the weather that we've been having. So please give us a call, 414-672-8090. I'll answer the phone.
Thank you, Gladys. Be safe,
Sure.
and we'll have you back soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
I'd like to bring on now our communications manager to give us an update on our daily drawing, Marisol Diaz.
Hi, Community Forum. Reminding you of our daily $25 gift certificate drawing by filling out the survey located in the comments section. In the following day's forum, we'll announce the winner. It's a quick 5-question survey, and you can enter daily and win daily. Thanks for those of you who have been filling them out, and thanks for tuning in. Now let's find out who's today's winner.
Today's winner is Jovan Giron, or Giron, we would say it in Spanish. Jovan, contact us. You know how to do that at SOC@SOCMilwaukee.org. I want to remind you all to make sure that you fill out the survey, that you stay tuned. Tomorrow we have Commissioner Kowalik with us. You don't want to miss that. Friday, you're going to hear all about the Sisters Diversion Program for women involved in street prostitution. Next week, we have the president of the Common Council, Chevy Johnson. We have Superintendent Dr. Keith Posley. We have Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. We're trying to schedule all these people who already have said yes. We have Emilio de Torre from the ACLU with us, and we have Miranda Medina Lopez talking about resources, health resources for women and their families. So we're bringing to you information that's really important. I'd like to take a moment now and ask all our viewers, what's the number one topic you would like us to cover here? Let's see if we can get some responses from you today. We really want to meet your needs and help you with your dreams. And we're here for you. So give us some sense of what's the most important thing that you'd like to hear about. Hola, Jeanette. Jovan says thank you. Thank him for filling out the survey. Let's hear from, let's see who we had on with us today. Marianne, is there something that you want to know about in the community that we should be talking about? Elsa, we should we should have Alas on to talk about the group of families of who have children with disabilities on. That's an important resource. Uriel, what do you want to hear about? Trine, is there any question you have that we can get answered by someone? Giovanna, what's important to you? Gabi, let us know what you would like us to work on. Please make sure you get your, your thoughts in as we develop next week and the following week. Jeanette thought that rent assistance was great. Yeah, it's important right now. I mean, housing is such a vital part of what we need, and so that's an important piece. And we'll be bringing updates probably weekly on housing for you all as we move forward. So, want to remind you to be with us, to fill out the survey, and to stay safe.
Hello, SOC viewers. My name is Jordan, and I am a member of SOC's Gold Institute. We would like to thank everyone for supporting our 3 o'clock with SOC live show and for completing our SOC survey. In addition to thanking our residents for tuning in and sharing our show, we would also like to thank the following sponsors: Wisconsin Voices, Community Development Block Grants, NEO Philanthropy State Infrastructure Fund, Movement Voter Project, Catholic Campaign for Human Development, Zilber Foundation, City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention, Tides Foundation, City of Milwaukee Promise Zones, and all the faithful individuals who support SOC through their personal donations. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, be safe, and we'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock with SOC.